it's one thing to manage the slides. And so good evening, everyone. I'm Kathleen Podrosky, and I'm the Community Outreach Supervisor for VTA's Community Outreach Group. And I just saw somebody come in. We're going to go ahead and get started on our Eastridge to BART Regional Connector Stakeholder Working Group meeting. So thank you for coming, and folks in the audience, thank you for joining us this evening. Go ahead, next slide, please. Thank you. So we'll do a quick roll call, and then if any of the Stakeholder Working Group members have I just saw Laura, if they have anything you would like to add when you just check in, that would be the great time to do that. And then we'll do a quick review of the November 18 meeting that we held. I'll provide a community outreach update, and then we'll give you an update on the project schedule, what's going on with utility relocation right now. And then we're going to pick up where we left off in November about the vibration. We were talking about noise and vibration. And so we'll do that. And then we'll have an open discussion and wrap it up. And I see somebody has their hand up. So let me just go in there really quick before I go to the next one. Oops, there we go. I'm trying to unmute you. Tate, if you go ahead and I'll take your question really quickly. You'll need to unmute.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Yes, you're good.
Hi, good evening. I just want to thank you for supporting the extension of BART train. And the reason I'm here is because I found out a few weeks ago that you are planning to extend the orange line of the VTA light rail to Eastridge Transit Center, which is really amazing. And it's really a good opportunity to give that opportunity for people to get to Milpitas BART station. But I also realized that the Alum Rock VTA light rail station will also become a BART station in the future. So, which will makes it even better. So here's my question though. It's about the Story Road's VTA light rail station. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. I do want to make a quick correction. Alum Rock will stay a light rail.
Right, I know that, but yeah, I'm fully aware that it's going to be a light rail, but I do know that the BART train is going to be added there in the future. That's what I mean.
No, it'll actually, this orange line will take you to the Berryessa. That would be your closest station that would connect with light rail.
That's weird because I found out that the BART station used to be called Alum Rock BART station, but they changed it to 20th Street Little Portugal BART station. That doesn't make any sense. That's why I'm getting confused.
That's okay. That's because it's located over at 28th Street over in Little Portugal area.
And how far is it from the Alum Rock VTA light rail station?
So if somebody wanted to go, and if somebody wanted to go that way, they would probably transfer onto a bus or take the 522 that turns, in this case, turns left or right. That would be the one. It goes down Alum Rock and Capitol Expressway, where the orange line is Capitol Expressway all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't intersect. So that's why I was saying the BART station that this project, the orange line will intersect with, is Berryessa.
Kathleen,
okay.
Kathleen, a correction there. It connects to Milpitas.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. I meant Milpitas.
Right, Milpitas. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. Now,
you're welcome.
Here's my question though, about the Story Road VTA light rail station. What is it going to look like exactly, and where the bus stop's going to be located, if you have any ideas so far?
Okay, you know what, maybe this would be something I can connect with you after the meeting, because I don't have that on for tonight's agenda. But I can share a rendering with you.
Of course.
And then the bus stops, we'll still have the bus stops there. So that there's a connection at Story Road. I can totally connect with you later on this, because that's not on this agenda tonight.
I understand, but
Okay.
I just want to let you know that I've already figured out exactly what the Eastridge VTA light rail station will look like, because I think the bus stops at that transit center is going to be quite pretty much the same, despite even though the VTA light rail station might look a little different. So so I've already probably might have gotten that figured out already.
Okay, we'll check it. Let me check in with you after the meeting.
Of course,
This can also connect you to some previous presentations we've done and displays.
I'll be happy to.
All right, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
All righty, let me get back. I'm going to lower your hand. That way I don't feel like I'm ignoring you again. Actually, it's not letting me lower your hand. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, so there we go. That's what I think. Next slide. I think that's where we are. You're there already. So this webinar is recorded and it will be up on our YouTube channel probably tomorrow or Monday. Keeping all your microphones on mute, and you can, if everyone uses their real name, it looks like you are. And we always speak one person at a time. And as Nate did, raise your hand, and that's the virtual hand at the bottom of your screen. You just click on that. However, when we get to discussion, I'll take the slides down, and if anyone forgets to use the virtual screen and puts their hand up, I'll grab you. Except folks in the audience, I cannot see you. I do need you to use the raise hand function. Okay, next slide, please. All right, our code of conduct. As always, we like to treat everybody with kindness and respect, consideration. The fourth bullet is really the most important. We will not tolerate any demeaning or discriminatory or harassing behavior. So I know this group won't do that. We've never had to worry about that. And if there's any, if you have any technical problems, raise your hands. We'll try to help you get through that. Next slide, please. So I'll do a quick roll call, and this is a chance for stakeholder working group members. If you have any updates you want to share with us. Ernesto, I just got an email from him. He's not able to attend this evening. So I'll start with Sandy.
Hello, everyone. Sandy, present.
Perfect. And Julie.
Present.
Hello. Laura, I got you in. Did you get in over here okay? Okay, maybe she didn't accept. Check on that in a second. Craig, I don't think you're here this evening. And Andres?
Hi, Kathleen, present,
Evening.
and no updates.
No updates. Okay, thank you. And John?
Good evening. Good to see everybody again.
Thank you. So I'll give you a little update on the stakeholder working group. Jessica with Catholic Charities and Jeremy with District Gate Community Roundtable have stepped down for pursuing other opportunities. And I had intended to bring this to the Policy Advisory Board on in December, but the meeting was canceled. But I do want them to nominate replacements. And as you all might recall, and actually, David, if you go to the next slide, the PAB members all represent a group or neighborhood association that are located along the project alignment within about half a mile. And it's one representative per group instead of, two people from the same neighborhood association. We want a nice cross section. And we just ask that they not be a city employee or work for a potential contractor or a contractor that might potentially be working on the project. So we don't want any conflicts. So anyway, I'll report this back to the PAB in March and get them updated on this. And I hope to have nominations and a couple folks on board by our next meeting in May. Alrighty, and then the role, I'm sorry, can you go back 1 second? And then just to remind everybody and folks who are new to in the audience, our stakeholder working group, our project liaisons, they're community representatives. They receive project updates and briefings. And I will tell you, in this past year of work we've done, your feedback for us has been really helpful when we go out in the community and do presentations, because we're working on those with you, and your feedback has helped us refine them and make them better. So it's working. Alrighty. And now we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So I'll already introduced myself. So David, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? And then we'll just go down the line with Ben, Hassan, and Ken.
David Lovato, Public Communications Specialist, helping Kathleen out on this project.
He is more than helping out. I just want you guys to know he's taken on more and more of the project outreach, which is wonderful. Thank you,
Ben
David.
Prasad, Project Manager.
Hassan Basma, Engineering Manager. I'm helping Ben out.
Good evening, I'm Ken Ronci. I'm with VTA. I work with Ben and Hassan. And to the questions that you had before, I think, Tate, we can certainly help out with some graphics and some information showing the distinction between the BART line and the extension for light rail. The names get confusing because we overlap them, but we can certainly get you information to help make sense of that.
One thing we do, we are very repetitive in our meetings. I think the stakeholder working group kind of knows we kind of pick up from last off and we repeat to keep it going. But I think we've left our map off, and so we'll get the map back on the presentations next time. Alrighty, so the minutes. I apologize. I thought I sent them out earlier until I realized I didn't. So I sent those out to everybody, I believe, yesterday. But just to review what we went over in November, we always do a community outreach overview. So I was sharing how many utility notices went up, that we did a presentation to Mount Pleasant Neighborhood Association and Catherine Smith Elementary School. We were going to table at the District 8 Family Fall Festival, but unfortunately due to COVID, it was canceled, and they'll reschedule that for later this year. We went over the status of the Ocala area history, and we talked about project construction outreach planning. And then, and this is what we do every month, we talk for every meeting. We talked about our real estate, where we are on our right-of-way, engineering updates, and we're going to, and the continuation, we've been focusing on the noise and vibration parts of this project, you know, how we're going to mitigate it, what we're doing for folks, and we're going to get more into detail on that on the process. And this is a time, did anybody from the Stakeholder Working Group, did anyone have any comments or questions about our November meeting? And seeing none, we'll go to the next slide. This is my favorite part. On our community outreach update, we are hiring BTA Community Outreach and Public Engagement, the group that David and I work in. We are hiring for a public communications specialist. So if you guys know anybody, check out the job description. We are requiring that somebody is fluent, a fluent Spanish speaker. And the reason for that is an area that we're lacking in. And this person would be helping out on this project as well as our transit-oriented development. And so it would be an asset. So if you know anybody or if you're interested, please check it out on our job board. So that first picture shows we do a lot, you know, we do these meetings, but we also go out in the field a lot. And if I recall correctly, that is from when we were doing some transit outreach. Okay, so there's that. We've been keeping you up to date on utility. Every time one of our utility owners goes out into the community and starts a new job at a new location, we have been providing updates. The utility owners are also required to provide updates. That is what's on their permit. I dig a little deeper and get a little more into, you know, what are the potential impacts? Are they going to close a road or a shoulder closure, a sidewalk closure? When is it going to happen? Is it happening overnight? And then if there are going to be any impacts to the service that they provide, they would certainly let the customer know ahead of time. And we put these, this is why the project webpage is on the second image. Those notices are posted under the construction notices. That's the third, what are we calling those? Accordions. It's a third accordion down on the project page. And then also on the right-hand side under documents, as well as under our notices section on the webpage. Then we also send it out to the stakeholders that have signed up for notices, as well as next door notices. So hopefully you're getting at least one of those notices. let's see. So since November, I sent out 2, and it was actually just recently, one for MCI and Verizon that are working over on Capitol Expressway at the corners of Tully and Swift, and San Jose Water. They have multiple locations. We put that up on the notice, and they've been doing night work, which I believe is finishing up this week. We've had some community presentations, first week of January, right after the holidays. We went back to Mount Pleasant, and after they heard the first presentation, they wanted to dig deep into a couple of areas, so we did that. And we are scheduling some time with District 8 Community Roundtable. And let's see, in February, early in the month, we sent out a blog about the Community Art Enhancement Project. We announced the artists, Pay White and Laura Drugan and Laura Haddad and Todd Drugan. So upcoming meetings in April, if you might remember, in August, Mary Rubin with the City of San Jose Arts Department presented the Art Enhancement Project, our program. And we're finalizing the contracts with the artists now, but they have been announced at the Public Arts Commission meeting through our blog. And the next step now is to hold a public meeting so that the artists can meet you and learn about you, and also so you can learn about them and see what kind of work they have done in the past. I don't have dates for the meetings. Once they get the contract signed, we can start looking for the dates. And one of those meetings will be facilitated in Spanish. And so I would love to have your help get the community involved. When we spoke at Catherine Smith Elementary School, there was a lot of interest in folks participating, and I want to make sure that they are aware of it and come to that. They will not be showing, they're not going to present any designs for these stations at this meeting. It is a getting to know you. It'll be interactive. You might be asked questions, or the community might be asked questions like, what does transit mean to you? Or what does San Jose mean to you? Or something, so they can learn about you. And in those meetings, what they learn, and they will likely do research on their own outside these meetings. They'll be able to come up with some concepts for design, and then we would come back and see what they have to present a few months down the line. So I'm looking forward to that. And then other updates we need to do. I need to get we're updating the web page, and every year we update our fact sheet and get new dates and, updated and make sure it's all current. So we're working on that right now too. All right, looks like I'm turning this over to Ben now. Before I do that, are there any questions? I'm just going to do a quick scroll of the photos, see everybody. All righty. Ben, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen.
Oh, wait. Danny raised his hand. Why didn't it show up when I was doing this? All right, hold on, Danny, I'm gonna unmute you. Go ahead.
Good evening. Hey, the only thing I have is when you were talking about, you just mentioned construction really quickly. I did not hear you mention anything about crossing guards during construction. So let's keep that in mind.
Oh, it is. It
Okay,
is. We're just so
perfect.
not there yet, but yeah, it is. I promise.
Yeah.
It's there.
Okay.
Thanks, Danny. Okay, Ben, go
All
for it.
right. Good evening, everyone. Let me give you a project update for real estate engineering construction. The project is progressing very well. We just have one last item in real estate. This is regarding a small piece of parcel we need on the airport property. This is close to the corner of Tully and Capitol Expressway.
Hey, real quick, Ben, I'm sorry. Can you move your microphone just a smidgen because it's sounding scratchy?
Is it better now? Let's see.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
The parcel is, like I mentioned, it's on the corner of Tully and Capitol Expressway, and we are working closely with FAA and the County of Santa Clara to get that piece of property released for construction. On the engineering, we are closing in on finalizing the design package, and we are starting to develop the construction contract package. This is a contract package that we would be putting out for construction bids. So we expect to finish this in the next few months. On the construction, I want to inform you, we have made a progress in utility relocation, especially the big one you may have noticed along Capital Expressway. We have relocated the transmission line that was on the east side of the expressway. I'm sorry, from the west side of expressway to the east side, so that it clears the project area. So these utility relocations are needed to clear the project footprint. So next slide, please. So these are some of the photos while the construction was happening and after construction. If you notice on the left slide, the left photo, the one on the left was the existing transmission line with transmission towers, lattice towers we call it, and that's been completely removed. And you see the one on the right. So the right, you will see all those new poles that are put in. These are single tubular steel poles. So everything, the work is complete. The project, we didn't have any major issues during construction of this one, so it went as planned, and we were happy about that. So next slide, please. So here are some of other photos of the utility work that's happening. You may have noticed this if you're driving by Capital Expressway. So the one on the left is the work that's happening for MCI. This is a relocation of communication cable. So these are all work that's happening close to on the west side of Capital Expressway, close to the airport. So these kind of work you will probably see for a few more months at various locations along the expressway. The one on the right is the relocation of a water line. This is close to Highwood and Capitol Avenue. So there's some trench work and relocation of those, the water line. This is all, like I said, to clear the footprint of the project. The foundations for whether it's foundation for the bridge or for the walls for the bridge, we need to clear all the underground utilities so that we can start the real big construction. Next slide, please. So I'd like to give you an overview. You have seen this for the last couple of meetings. This gives you a big picture of where the utility relocation is happening. So if you see on the left side near Capitol Avenue, that's where currently the San Jose Water Company is doing some relocation work. After that, they would be moving to the Story intersection for some work there too. There is some work happening, like I said, close to Tully Road. This is MCI communication cable relocation that's happening right now. The blue oval you see there, that was the transmission line that was relocated. So that work is complete. So you'll be seeing work spread across these areas at various times in the next 6 to 9 months. Next slide, please. So I want to give you an overview of where we are on the schedule and funding. If you look at this cartoon, I call it. So we are on the top blue is where the property acquisition is occurring. Like I said earlier, we still have a small sliver property from FAA to be released for the project to proceed for construction. The utility relocation, the red bar, shows to be continuing through end of this year. So this is work to be done by PG&E, San Jose Water Company. We have several communication companies like AT&T, MCI, Comcast, Crown Castle, Zayo. Those are all the communication companies, they are planning to relocate for this project. So PG&E is taking the lead in working on the joint trench, which is a combination of utilities that goes into one trench. This is to make sure that we make it more efficient and maximize the productivity, and not only that, and also minimize the impacts. So PG&E is coordinating with other utilities to do what's called a joint trench, where other conduits and things would go together and they would share a trench. It's called a giant trench. So that's going to be happening. It's in the design right now, and very soon it'll be out for construction. Like I said earlier, the final engineering is complete. We are getting the package, the contract package for advertisement. And our target is to have this ready for July of 2022. You probably will see an asterisk there. This is because we need about 130 million of RM3 funds. This is something we had earlier mentioned in the previous meetings. That is held up in the California Supreme Court. So we are hoping that there will be some kind of a decision by then, but we don't control the schedule of the court. So as soon as we have a decision on that, then only we can advertise this project. So that's why you see an asterisk there. So we'll be ready with the contract package, and as soon as we hear from a decision by the California Supreme Court, so we will proceed with advertising the project and then construction. So as far as the funding, it's estimated to be 512 million. And we still have as you can see, we still have to secure about $183 million for the project to proceed with construction. Next slide, please. So in the previous meetings, in the last, I would say probably 3 or 4 meetings, we have been covering many topics, of interest to the public, to traveling public, and also the neighborhood there. So we covered traffic before. We covered schools, business, noise, and vibration. The last couple of meetings we have covered in detail about noise and vibration, the mitigation and what we have done, how we are planning to address this during construction. So these are all the things that we shared with you, and we're hoping that you would share that with your group and let them be informed. Next slide, please. So in the previous meeting, I had talked to you about both noise and vibration and the criteria that's been established, and who's responsible for establishing the criteria. So we follow the Federal Transportation Authority, or FTA's criteria for managing the construction and noise related to construction. So a thorough analysis was done as part of the environmental document that's been on our website, on the analysis that was done for noise and vibration. The mitigations, that we are going to be following during construction. Our goal is to minimize the impact, whether it's traffic or noise or vibration. We want to make it as less a problem as possible. So that is our goal, and we are working to have that impacts minimized. So next slide, please. So in the last meeting I had, you may remember, these were a couple of maps that we had shared with you. What you see in the red, these are all the readings there. These are called PPVs, or these are called peak particle velocity. So FTA has a criteria and their criteria is, if it's 0.2, you should be monitoring and monitor for, any vibration related, impacts for the property. So we have mapped this. You'll see the one in the yellow block is where, those are the ones that are exceeding the FTA's criteria on that. So we have identified about 55 properties that are estimated to be exceeding the FTS criteria, which is the 0.2 peak particle velocity is what it's called. And it's the measure of vibration. So we are working, we have mapped that and we will be monitoring those as we go during construction. So this is the another area that's been also identified. So this is close to Ocala Avenue on both sides of the Capital Expressway. So we have these. These are all developed as a noise vibration monitoring model that was established during development of the environmental document. So one of the things we would be doing is when we start construction, we are going to be doing some pile driving, and we're going to be testing the locations at various locations, and we'll be taking the readings for vibration. So what it does is it gives us additional information to see how we can manage this, during construction. So that's one of the things we're going to do. Like I said earlier, in the environmental document, we have, we document how to manage the vibration at source, how to mitigate as much as possible near the construction site. So that's one of the things we do. And then also, how do we manage this, during construction and, near the residences and the business locations. So that's one of the things we'll be doing. We call it as a pile testing program. The pile testing program gives us an early information, before we call it as a production pile, which is, doing all the pile driving for the whole project. That gives us an idea as to what the readings would be, so that we can monitor and manage, during construction.
Hey, Ben, really quickly, we have a question, and it's Ken. He'd like to speak, so let's real quickly let him in.
Yes, and thank you, Kathleen. So my point was just going to be this. What you see on the screen is a lot of technical information. It's numbers, and it's the locations that are close to the corridor. What Ben's describing is all of the technical stuff that influenced these numbers. What we want to make sure that we do, and tonight is about expressing to you the actual numbers that we got when we did our analysis, and then try to interpret for you what it means. So the fact that you see these red boxes and these yellow, areas really just means that in FTA's criteria, they believe that there is a need to monitor. That's what it means. We don't think there's structural damage. We don't think there's going to be anything that needs to be corrected. It really is, these are the properties that just need to be evaluated. And so when we're looking at this, I just wanted to put in context what we're talking about. If you look at the lower right, those are those peak velocity measurements. What they really mean is that these locations are sites that, because of pile driving, if they have any cracks, the thought is that they would be only 5% of them would be happening. And of that 5%, they would be only hairline at corners. So we're not talking about structural damage. We're talking about truly very, very modest, impacts in context of aesthetics that we're going to have a mitigation plan. So I just want to put context around it that, FTA requires us to analyze it, that requires us to make sure we have a plan. We're starting to share that plan with you. but I wanted you to kind of realize that when we look at this, we're talking about evaluation against a criteria that is not about structural damage. It's truly about any visual change caused by construction. So that's the context I wanted to put around it.
Thank you, Ken. Next slide, please. So how do we manage this during construction, right? So the first is through the pile testing program, we're going to identify the residences that have a potential to experience high vibration. Inform the property owners. This would happen earlier. Kathleen's group. You'll be getting regular information about progress of construction. It could there are Kathleen will be handling that, informing public as to what's happening through many sources. She'll be doing that. So and then one of the things, and once we identify the properties for monitoring, we have to get a permit to enter from the property. So we'll make sure that we do this in advance of the work and get the permission from the property owner to enter and monitor this. So we'll be setting up the monitoring devices to record the vibration reading. We'll be recording pre and post construction vibration. So, so these are, I call it a baseline readings. We would take it before the construction starts. And then we would take one after construction. So we want to make sure that, everything is informed and documented. So, we'll take photos before and after construction. And if there is any evidence of damage, we'll do the repairs. Like Ken said, the probability is very low for any damage. But, we have planned to handle that if there are any damages. So next slide, please.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to go ahead and go back one slide. I just want to make a little clarification on the community outreach. We would be giving you the project updates. I will not be calling you if you happen to live in one of those houses. It'll be our real estate department. Most likely, we might help them. But what happens is those 55 homes are contacted to explain that we want to do these surveys and monitoring. But that part is not really in my wheelhouse. I would be more updating you on, we're getting ready to start construction, what to expect. And then I see, it looks like Julie, I'll go ahead and just take your question. Oh, I have to unmute you, don't I? No, you're unmuted, you're good. Okay, hi.
So I live over by Capitol Expressway, right at the end of the light rail. Were any of those homes going to be affected in the Lindale area where I live?
Yeah, the project starts near end of that's where it starts, the Alum Rock Station area.
Right.
And from there it goes up. So one of the things we have done in there is, since those homes are so close and we had a very high readings of vibration from the modeling, so we have changed the type of foundation there. The type of foundation there is not the pile driving. It is more, these are drilled foundations. You don't hear that regular hammer noise. So this is more a drilling operation. So the vibrations from that kind of operation is less, very less compared to the regular pile driving. So the foundation type is different from Alum Rock area all the way up to Capitol, just to the south of Capitol Avenue.
So then are you saying then that only the areas that have the yellow band around them will have field surveys and the others were determined to be lower than the threshold?
That is correct.
Yeah, so the bottom line is at the Capitol intersection, the vibration is less because we're not driving piles. So those properties will not be surveyed. The properties that we're surveying are those that were identified with a vibration that meant a threshold that talked about minor cracks at corners of outside paint and stucco. That was the damage. So we're talking about damage. We're not talking about structural damage. We're talking about minor cracks at the corners of stucco and paint. But to make sure that we understand the existing condition, we're recommending to get access to properties to do a survey prior so that we can have evidence to help get restoration if there's cracks after, to repaint houses and to fill cracks. And so we don't expect any kind of foundation damage or wall damage or house damage, nothing like that, nothing to that extent. We're really talking about minor cracks in paint and stucco. But we want to be,
not be right.
Pardon me?
It may or may not be. It's not.
Yeah, very low
Yeah.
probability of even that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a low probability of that kind of impact. To correct that, we're going to have a plan to fill cracks and repaint walls. And so we're going to be ready for that. But as far as the properties that are specific to Capitol, we're not going to be driving piles because of the space constraints. We have to drill foundations. And so only those that you see here are the ones that we're going to do field surveys for. But our goal is to be preemptive and to have a plan in place in the event that we see those minor cracks. We want to do corrective action, right? We want to be responsive. And so that's what this is about.
Yeah, this is a good example when I say mitigation, right, based on our environmental studies, right? So when we did the model, especially the homes are so close in that area between, Wilbur Avenue and Capitol, the readings for vibration were high. So, we changed the type of foundation that we can build in that area. So that's why we call it as cast in drilled hole pipe. So which is, very similar to the foundation work you saw for the poles, for the transmission poles, but it's on a bigger, it's a bigger size foundation. So what it does is it has lesser vibration, compared to the other pile driving methodology.
And so to put context around it, we built the structure in Milpitas. It had 1,880 piles, 1,860 maybe, almost 1,900 piles. And we didn't have one crack, so no complaints. So this is the same distance away. The soil is a little bit different here. And so we want to make sure that we're respecting that. So what we're going to be doing during construction is monitoring the vibration. We'll have monitors out there to determine whether it's what we thought it was going to be. And if we do the pre-construction surveys, we're doing that to protect the property owners. So that way, if there are any impacts that they identify as to minor cracks, either to the stucco or to the paint, that we have a way to justify correction, right? To go do crack filling and painting. And so we're going to have a contractor ready to do that. So really what we're trying to do tonight is just illustrate to you the locations where we want to do that. And that, when we go out and we're going out to the community and asking to get access to their outside property or their homes, what we're doing. We just want to get a record of what it looks like so that if there's any issues later, we can show the difference and then we can correct it. And so that's really what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about presenting to you the locations that we're going to be requesting access to do these surveys. And it really is to create just an existing condition so that any claims that come in can be supported.
Because I know we're on bedrock. Was Milpitas on bedrock?
No, Milpitas had a lot of groundwater because it's closer to the bay. And so their soil characteristics were a little bit different, but their proximities were the same. And we ended up, you do
feel, as this model here shows in this category of litany of different impacts, you can have barely receptible. And then I actually had a field office, literally had a field office adjacent to the job site. So I was there every day, and you could feel vibration, but never was there any risk of damage. It was just kind of vibration. That soil is a little bit different. This soil does have more vibration. That is what the geologists tell us. And when they use an FTA criteria, which is really the most stringent, if we use the California criteria, it wouldn't be this impactful, but we're using the most stringent criteria, which is FTA. It shows these numbers. And really what it means is we're, to do our job, to be good stewards of the community, we just need to be aware that there are low potentials, like 5% potential of these minor cracks. And in that regard, that's what we mean by mitigation, right? We want to make sure people aren't fearful of like foundation or structure damage. That's not the realm we're talking about. We're really talking about cosmetic issues with, stucco and paint. And it's a low probability of even that, but we want to prepare for it so that we can deal with it. So really, this is about, full transparency about what FTA criteria shows, and then what our plan is to address it.
We are at open discussion, so this is a good time. There we go. That's what I was going to say. It's a good time to put your hand up. And Danny, I have just asked you to unmute.
Fantastic. Hey, listen, can we go back a couple slides to the one where the guy's in a hole? And what was the other part of that slide? Yeah, okay. And my question is, where is that location on the left? I don't recognize it right away.
Yeah.
Is that Swift or something like that?
Yes, it's at Swift. Yeah, it is
Okay.
at Swift and Capital Expressway. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one thing I want to point out to you guys is I don't know what this gentleman in the hole was doing. I see the little shoring right there, but he's on his knees in a hole that's probably 8 feet deep, and 1 cubic yard of dirt that would fall on him would suffocate him. So I would hope you guys would look to make sure that your contractors have complete shoring around these trenches. I don't think that's enough. That cubic yard weighs as much as a car, according to OSHA, and you guys will never get them out of there in time. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
I'm just telling you guys, OSHA 10, OSHA 30, OSHA 500. I could teach safety. And as far as I'm concerned, that guy's looking to die.
Yeah.
That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Danny. We'll reach out to them. Okay. If we have a moment before we go to this, so I'll just do a quick, just let you know what the upcoming public meetings that we have, Board of Directors. Oh, Sandy, let me unmute you, unless you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Kathleen, I wanted to ask you, will all the nearby residents get a postcard notifying them about the upcoming meetings, especially the ones that are Spanish speaking?
The art meeting, yes. Once we get those the dates nailed down, I'll notify about both dates on one notice. It will be translated. I will be reaching out to all of you to also help broadcast it and reach out to your network, but definitely it will be mailed. And I know that's really important for a lot of the neighborhoods that don't have internet next door, but we'll also be on the website and the, I'll do the next door posting and the stakeholder posting, but definitely it will be mailed.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. I'm looking forward to getting that nailed down, like the date nailed down and the facilitator online, and it's going to be a neat, it's a fun experience. It's a fun part of the project. So we have some upcoming meetings, and there's not a specific ask or anything, but we do have our board of directors monthly meeting
Kathleen?
on March 3rd. Hi, Ernesto.
I
I'm sorry.
I think you was on mute. You put me in mute, right?
I
Hello?
didn't mute you. I didn't hear,
Oh,
you shouldn't, I hear you. We can hear you, Ernesto. ahead.
Okay, yeah, okay. I don't know. I have problems in the beginning to come to go in. Anyway, yeah. I see all of those houses right there, you know. The criteria for FAA is point 10, right? And most of those houses is 0.20 or 0.30. The vibration is going to be. How do you know, or how you going to send, how you guys send, they're going to send a verification to all those properties guys to check the house before and after? Because even you guys have to go and look at the houses and take a picture how it is before the construction, and then after the construction, they're gonna do it again, right? Just in case somebody want to have damage in the house or something like that. My question is this: do you guys gonna send information to all those houses right there, or to everybody in our neighbors?
Yes.
You want to describe? Yes, they will. I was going to say, I'm not the one doing it, but they will be contacted individually. And in some cases, let's say it's a rental, we'll make sure we work with the property owner and the tenant.
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
we go back to the previous slide, maybe David, if you have the slides. So what we're going to do is we are going to request access to all the properties that are the first house along the corridor. Those
Yeah,
are the
because-
only houses that were identified within the criteria.
Yeah,
What
because-
we're going to
sorry.
ask is we're going to ask, can we have access to your property so we can do a survey on the outside and inside? We cannot force our way in, nor will we force our way in. If property owners do not want us accessing their property, then we respect that. But having information will allow us to have a baseline so that in either during or after construction, if the property owner were to call us out and file a claim, when they can, we will give you claim forms that say, fill this out if you believe there's any damage, that you would fill that out and we would use the existing information to do an analysis to determine if we caused impact. If there was no impact before and there were cracks after, we're going to fix it. That's our commitment, is that we're going to make it right. But it does help us to have good information. So some of the properties outside, we're not going to go survey. So if they're not on this, if they're not shown here as the first row of properties, we're not going to go survey all the properties in all the neighborhoods because we don't see that as an impact in our analysis.
No,
And
I'm talking about those houses, the red
Yep.
square.
So
right
we're gonna send a letter and we're gonna have a real estate agent go out and say, please give me access to your property. Sign this to let me go in your property. And we're gonna have one of our experts then go in and evaluate the walls, the corners, the cracks, take pictures to see what's there today. We expect to see nothing today. We hope every building is perfect inside and out. And then we'll have a baseline that later on, if that property owner says, I see cracks now, they will notify us, we'll compare it to before, and then we have something to correct.
Okay, yeah, because it's nothing to do with this, but I have bad experience in my house. Next door neighbor built another house in the backyard, and the drain for the whatever the water going to the city, they make a hole right there to 1 feet to my fence, and all my paint and all one side is cracks all over. And I talked to him, and he said, "Okay, I don't know how the house was before, and my fault was because I don't have experience with that. I supposed to take pictures before they started the construction and after, because it's just one side of my house."
Right. And so and I could totally appreciate that. You don't have evidence before to show how their work caused the impact. So our goal is to get access to all of these properties. And even if a property owner does not allow us in, we'd like them to take pictures of their own property before, so that we can show it. Because our responsibility is to correct any problems. We are not going to shy away from correcting problems. We do want to make sure that we're not correcting existing problems, right? If there's cracks today,
Yeah.
we don't want to go fix those. But if we cause them, we are absolutely going to correct it, right? That's our
Okay.
responsibility.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Danny, before I come to you, I did see Guadalupe, you had your hand up and now your hand is gone, but if you still had something, go ahead. There you go. I asked you to unmute.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
I
Danny,
have a
next.
question. I'm a little bit confused. Sorry to missing the November meeting, and I don't have access to the minutes. But on the previous slide, I don't know, you can put it on. No, not that one, before. One more. There. Okay. I see here in the Ocala, they said there's one in Story, and then it's Ocala, Cunningham, and Tally. Is gonna be a stop on Ocala? Or because I see here's like kinds of like some brackets.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this is a little bit confusing, this slide. This slide is intended to only show utility work. And so the stations are not shown on this slide, nor is the light rail alignment shown. The only thing shown here is where the utility relocation is happening. And so there's utility relocation happening at all the intersections. That's why you see the red. And then there's a electrical transmission line that's already been done. It's the blue. So this has nothing to do with station areas and has nothing to do with stops. This is only to show where we are doing utility relocation.
Okay, so that was my question. Is that gonna be a stop in Ocala?
There will, at this time, there is no stop at Ocala. So the last environmental document showed that there was not enough ridership at Ocala, so Ocala was deleted. The board members on the Policy Advisory Board have asked staff to do an analysis for ridership. So we're preparing, we did an analysis, we're preparing a memo to give to the PAB members so they know what the ridership would look like even after the build out of the airport. If it were to develop after 2030, we use that kind of a basic layout of what current improvements have looked like, and we calculated ridership. And so we do know what the ridership would be. We're preparing a memo to share that with the Policy Advisory Board members. But right now, the approved project does not include a stop at Ocala, and we don't think the ridership would ever justify it in our calculation.
So when we're gonna know the results of this report, of this study?
So we're preparing them now. It's been, even in the last few days, we've been communicating with the board offices. We should give something to them in the next week or so, and then they'll have the information. But I will say that even with the development, it doesn't appear that the ridership is high. It certainly is not high enough to justify to meet the criteria that we would show required for a new station. But we are going to provide it so that people are informed about it and that the Policy Advisory Board can react to it. But right now, there's no direction to include a platform at Ocala, but we are going to give information regarding ridership to the PAB for their information. And if they want to change direction, they can change direction. But right now, staff is not advancing a platform at Ocala.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And Guadalupe, what I'll do tomorrow, I'll send you an email with the link to the last meeting. And it'll have all the meetings videos that are recorded. And the best part is you can fast forward to any part that you want, but make sure you get that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I'm going to go to Danny and then Sandy.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Oh, okay, great. Hey, I just want to kind of backtrack to Ernesto here. I just want to make sure that we're contacting the homeowners and not the renters at the homes. Yeah, okay, good. That's it.
Yeah, we'd have to work with both too.
And to that point, Danny, we also have to work with both business owners and property owners. And so we do need to make sure that we're informing both sides, that the owners have, they're our primary contact, but that we also want to do outreach to the occupants. So that's a really good distinction. We need to make sure we're doing both.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, and that's something I'll mention too on the newsletters, that when I send out the mailed copies, we do include the absentee property owners. So that way, if they live somewhere else in Santa Clara County or even Texas, but they're renting property along the alignment, they're getting noticed as well. Okay, Sandy, go ahead.
Yes, Ken, I think this is a question to you regarding that report or analysis on the ridership.
Yes.
Are you going to have past ridership, and how far back are you going?
Yeah, so what we're actually doing, what we actually did is we took there's been several developments recently done in the city of San Jose and in the county. And we took those developments to get density correlation. So like, what was the density? What was the, the housing versus the commercial and that kind of thing. We took those densities and we took this area and applied that density. We then took ridership calculations today and 2040. And so what we did is we put that in our model, and we modeled with an MTC model that basically says, based on future population and future business where people live and where they work, and with the density that we would have at the airport if it were to develop, that is what was used to generate ridership in 2040. And that's the number we're giving in our memo.
Ken, right now, I think ridership is low everywhere.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, we're using pre-pandemic ridership. We're not using COVID ridership. Yeah, we're actually projecting to 2040. So we're actually not even using today's ridership. We're using 2040 ridership, and the model we use is not, it takes into account recovery from COVID. Yeah, it does. It's not like right now. It's not COVID influenced that way.
Would you use data prior to the COVID?
Well, yeah, we actually use modeling. So the modeling itself takes data pre-COVID.
Okay.
And then projects it out to 2040. And so really, the population in San Jose is supposed to double in the next, 25 years, right? So it actually has a lot more density, and it has a lot more shifts in origin and destination. And all that's into this model. It's a regional model. That's what's been used to generate this ridership. And so it's a basic calculation based on the density. So the real issue there is, what's the density, right? What kind of developments is it going to be, right? And there you can have different range of development. So what we did is we just took several of the most recent and used that distribution for here. But it's not, so the low ridership for COVID is not going to influence this to be a low ridership. It's the same model that was used for the original environmental document.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question though, because it could be artificial, right? If it's COVID based, and so it matches the previous evaluation.
Okay. Are any other stakeholder members want to pipe in? This is a good time. Any attendees, any more questions? Okay. So like I was mentioning earlier, we have a board of directors meeting next week. I don't believe this project is on the agenda, but it's always a good time to just check in and hear what else is going on. And then the Eastridge to BART Policy Advisory Board, that meets on March 16th at 4 p.m. That is virtual. And so I'll show you on the next slide, but sign up for updates. And also I do have a note in my calendar to just remind everybody it's happening as well. And then remaining Ken, was that a hand up or were you just?
There was a
doing
hand up, yeah. So
Okay.
one other thing before we close, I know that Danny's on the call here and maybe some others are concerned. There was some questions about some of the airport analysis
Thank you. That's right.
for soil and that kind of thing. And so we're setting up a meeting with Hope through Cindy Chavez's office to kind of talk with our geologist who did the calculations to just kind of explain it to the group and to what the findings were and then what we're doing during construction whenever we're going to be excavating. So look for that, Danny. She's going to be setting that up. Hope will be setting it up with our architect, our environmental team, and then, our geologist and our environmental team to describe what findings we did, but then even maybe more importantly, what we're going to be doing during construction of light rail. So that's coming up in, when we have construction, we're going to be doing sampling and testing and reaction to what we find before we do excavation during construction. But I wanted to say that just so that we weren't silent here, that so that Danny knows that we are going to set up that meeting and we've offered to have our geologist and our design team there and Hope is going to be setting that up. So just wanted to share that information.
Good, great. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Hey, listen, one other person or one other sector we need to have there is the people that are going to be doing the dust abatement when construction is happening.
Yeah, so that will be the contractor. We don't have the contractor yet, but we can certainly take input about the specification. And then we will have we're building now our team of administration. So who's going to be like the resident and the inspectors. And so you'll be speaking to them. So we'll be able to make sure that they do what you're saying, which is dust control and management during construction. So yeah, you're totally right.
Because if they're going to park on the airport property, it's automatically they're going to kick up dust. And as you know, we found out in 1936 Elm Rock Avenue that the EPA and other people find that dust particles can fly 500 feet without wind. And so if that dust is contaminated, that's not going to help the community at all. We have seniors and babies that have asthma already.
Yep. Okay. So we'll share with you and we'll take your input for, we are going to test anywhere we're excavating. Right now, we're not planning on being on the airport property as part of the construction. We are going to be at the edge of it and we'll test that. And so like you're saying, dust control is important. The way we cover our soil and maintain it. We likely will be taking it right off the site, right, without any handling on site. So those are the things that we'll talk about when we meet. But our goal is to absolutely understand what we're excavating and what we're off-hauling and to test it before we do anything that would be of any risk. So we'll share that with you. And then we have in our contract documents, we'll be enforcing what you're talking about, which is if you find it, here's what you do with it. Here's how you protect it. So, yeah.
Got one more there, Danny?
No, that's it. I mean,
your hand just came up again.
Oh no, I thought I lowered my hand. I was backwards. No, and the reason I bring this up is because at 1936 Elm Rock Avenue, we ran into this with pollution from the herbicides, pesticides, all the other sides you got in farming. So not just diesel, but diesel too, and white gas.
Yeah, and so I think dust control is going to be important for a few things, right? It's going to be important for, like you're talking about hazards, but it's also important for cleanliness. It's important for the roadway and the roadway safety, right? It's erosion control is important. So there's a lot of things that we care about during construction because we are going to have excavation. We're going to have a lot of material movement. So we do need to make sure we have good housekeeping. We know what we're dealing with and that we are, we do it in an efficient way. So Ben and his team is making sure that we have contract requirements and that our inspection and administration team, has a way to enforce it. And so those are very valuable points because even if it wasn't hazardous, just dealing with dust and dirt is itself a big effort. right?
Well, we learned that enforcement is not going to work. Penalties work. And the only penalties we have as a community is financial. And that's what stopped the construction of a school over that property, over that contaminated property.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. We are meeting with our contracts and legal group to talk about just what you're saying, is that how do you make consequences serious if a contractor doesn't comply and it's not schedule driven, right? And so I think, you're correct in the recognition of the challenge for getting enforcement. And we understand it because we actually want that same kind of control, right? So we don't have a situation where a contractor, isn't, there's no penalty, there's no consequence, right, for lack of compliance. So we do agree with you that we're trying to find what that looks like. Do we bring another company in to clean it up and charge them, right? Do we do things like that so that we can get some control? So those are things we're exploring.
Yeah, so isn't that what happened with BRT and the removal of Goodfellas?
Yeah, we learned a lot in that job, didn't we?
Yeah, thanks to Plata Arroyo.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, Ken. I just want to tell you, man, that was a lot of fun.
I don't know if I'd call it fun. We learned a lot.
Yeah, we did. That's my gray hair, you guys. Come on. Alrighty. So you see the schedule for the rest of the year. We come together as a group in May, but we can come to your neighborhood association, just invite us. At some point when we get closer to, probably at the end of the year, when we get closer to advertising the contract and getting a contractor on board, then I'm going to be really reaching out saying, I want to get on your agendas. Right now, we're available. Just give us some notice so we can schedule it. Alrighty. And then for everyone else, that image on the right, this shows you how to subscribe to updates. It's a stakeholder update. This is who I'm emailing. This means you want to hear from me. If I'm doing it on Nextdoor, I'm just hoping you'll read it. So this is where we provide the updates. And when you're doing that, I would suggest also subscribing to the Eastridge to BART Policy Advisory Board and get notified of their meetings as well. And when you're on there, you can subscribe to anything you want to know about. There's other projects, of course, that VTA is doing. So that would be a great way to stay in contact. Otherwise, you can reach out to me directly or to our general email box, and it will get to me or David. And if we don't know the answer, we reach out to Ven and Ken. So it's a team. Alrighty, we're coming up on 8 o'clock. So we did well. We didn't keep you late. I think we've gotten much better at not having too much crammed into one agenda. You want to go ahead and take down the slides? That would be great. We can go ahead and pull that out. And I'm going to do a quick, one of the things I'm always forgetting to do is a quick screenshot, although I've got most of your names, but I got a few photos in there. So thank you all.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Let this go.
All right. Good night.
Thanks for coming. Well,
Good
and,
night.
I also want to say thank you for all the good questions you asked tonight. It was a really good discussion, and I really appreciate everybody speaking up. And this is what we want. This is the purpose of this group. So thank you.
Thank you for the answers.
Thank you.